there's this notion that, no matter what you do, you regret it. Either or. If you do A, you wish you had done B instead. If you do B, you wish you had done A instead, and so on. And in my life, it's always been the case. Or for a long time that I've been conscious, it's been the case. Okay, let me give you an example. I was at the checkout line, as you are, and there was this girl in front of me who only had one item, and I had a lot of items, so I decided to let her go in front of me. But her response was kind of awkward and strange, and I kind of regretted having done that because it was just awkward. But I know that if I hadn't done it, I would have regretted that too, because I would have felt guilty. And then there was an old man behind me who also had a few items. He had two, not one. So I was like, should I let him go also? But then I will never get going. I will never get out of here. It's just impractical and stupid. And so I didn't. And then immediately I thought, well, now that I haven't done that, he must think I'm some kind of creep because I let the girl in front of me but not him. But if I had done it, I probably would have regretted that also, because it would have been impractical and stupid and awkward. So one fundamental lesson to learn in life is that no matter what you do, you will regret it. If you don't do it, you will regret having missed out on the experience. If you do it, you will regret the pain and suffering that it will inevitably cause. So there's nothing you can do or can do that will lead you down a straight road. It will hurt no matter what. So, that's one thing I was thinking about. What else have I been thinking about? I have to go to the bank tomorrow because I have to change my account plan. And that will cause immense pain and suffering because I have terrible anxiety. So when I'm in the bank, I'm sort of shaking. It's a very noisy environment, a lot of people, and there's nothing I can do if I want to live life and participate in these social functions. I just have to keep living with the pain. If I don't go to the psychiatrist, for example, they will give me meds, which might help. If I do go, I have to go, which is in and of itself painful to me. If I die, I cannot do anything anymore. Cannot do my favorite things. If I don't die, I will continue to suffer. And so there really isn't a good answer. There's no good answer forthcoming anywhere in this world. You can make 1,000 YouTube videos, have 1 million followers, and yet nothing will happen. Only trivial things will happen. The things that are not trivial are gonna happen anyway. Everything is priced in. You're just living your life. You're not doing much else, are you? So the only reason I'm doing these videos is because it makes me feel better. For some reason that I can't explain. And it doesn't matter to me if you watch it. If you watch it, I'll be dissatisfied because I would want more people to watch it. Or I would be upset about all the mistakes I made that people now see and can judge me for it. So there too, there is no perfection. I used to think that I used to envy people and look at the beautiful families and beautiful houses, and I imagine they have the perfect life, but when you dig underneath, you will find that they don't. That the pain will cover them too, and they won't escape. Even if they're the most successful YouTuber in the world, like Mr. Beast, it doesn't really matter. He's still just he's an empty husk of a person now, because he's so committed to his craft. Even the president's an old idiot. And then the next one, if it's not Trump, it will be a mediocre one anyway. Otherwise, it will be a sociopathic lunatic. But neither situation is ideal. It's not like we live in a world where we're happy about the options that are given to us. It's a signature failure of the world that these are the options available to the world. Like, if you really believe that things are good now, why is it that we cannot produce better results than this? I mean, it's absurd. The results that the world produces are absurd. 100,000 Palestinians have been murdered, I think, since October. Crazy numbers. And it's like, do you really believe that we live in the best of all possible worlds, where every day when you wake up you can kind of see the terrible nature of the world and how, just how unfair and unjust and terrible and stupid it all is? I mean, is the student happy that he has to wake up at 6 in the morning to catch the bus and go to school? Is the husband happy that his wife is 200 pounds and old and unattractive and has to suck up to his boss to make a living? Is the child happy that he has to mow the lawn every weekend or get his ass beat? Is his girlfriend happy that he has a mediocre looking guy with a mediocre dick? Is the president happy? I mean, would you really like to be a Donald Trump? Even though, he probably couldn't even read a poem, because he's made up of stone, so he can't open his heart to the beautiful things in life. That's why you probably shouldn't envy sociopaths and psychopaths and killers, even if they were successful, like Genghis Khan or something, because it may have been true that they enjoyed their exploits. They could never reach that level of depth and development that a more sophisticated person could. Um, and so you come to the conclusion that the only people to envy are the people who want nothing. Buddhist monks, an alcoholic, a drug addict who just sort of sits in his room all day and does nothing but dope, or does nothing at all, just meditates, because you might think something is going on, right? It's this phenomenon of fear of missing out, FOMO, big word in crypto, right? If you don't buy this crypto, you will miss out. And that's true. It might be true in certain circumstances, but in general, you're not missing out on anything. You're missing out on your needs that you artificially create, and you demand more things. And then when you satisfy those demands, you think you've accomplished something, even though you dug yourself into a hole, and then all you did is climbed out of it. It's like putting on your glasses and they got foggy. So all that really happens is your vision gets worse, not better. It's that kind of stupid. That's the world we're living in. And people will ask you to be positive, to have a positive message. I'm supposed to, as a YouTuber, I'm supposed to give you something. I'm supposed to edit videos and make thumbnails and chase the algorithm. Otherwise, I won't get anything back. I have to always reach out to the world. Otherwise, the world does not reach out to me. And in this way, the world betrays me from the very beginning, because it sees me as an object. And the incels are wrong when they say only men don't have fundamental value. Dogs and cats and women do. No, they don't. I never understood that argument. They are also desired for what they can provide. Otherwise, why would our dogs be so cute? Why would our girlfriends and wives would be so hot, or so helpful, or useful, or whatever? We always keep them around for the sake of utility. And society is fundamentally based on utility. And science is a whole other kind of worms, kind of absurdity and stupidity. Science is basically just molesting the world, bothering it, nagging it, to turn to our to turn it to our advantage. It's just applied technology, and the humans are just applied humans. The scientists are just applied humans. In the same way that you have applied biology, theoretical and applied physics. The humans are the driving functions of what is applied, and what is applied is the science, which is just a method to distinguish what is useful from what is not useful to us, right? I mean, people say, science is about finding objectivity. Well, but have you questioned that this objectivity just so happens to correlate with usefulness? That what we really seek from science is not objectivity as such, but usefulness. We find it useful to figure something out. Otherwise, we wouldn't bother figuring it out. So we cannot separate ourselves from the creation that is inherent in science. Science is a human creation in a very explicit way. Same way religions are human creations, or so I believe. And in terms of arguing about gods, there's a dog barking from the other side of the riverbank. The other side of the river. I show you. Dog, but that's the river. Pretty. Anyway, so people say, like, a religious person might say, well, look at the complexity. Look at the complexity of the world. It's just such an absurd image to believe that it was created by a god. It's like, what are you imagining happen? Like, are you imagining God just sitting there with his, like an old lady in an armchair, knitting the human brain with all of its insane complexity? Why the fuck would he do that? Why is it just so absurd? How can he do that? Where does he get the stuff from? Where does he get his intelligence from to do it? Why does he do it? How does he decide what is right and what is wrong? Based on what? It's just so fucking stupid, And it does remind me of these old, Hitchens arguments of, or the size of a dick seems to be decided by a committee. Our intestines are too long or whatever. All kinds of problems that we have a lot of weirdly developed stuff that is not exactly well engineered, fairly unfit for purpose. Like our teeth are bones, I think, but they require so much maintenance that other bones don't, and so they're kind of idiotic, and just the whole way the human organism works. It's pretty stupid that you get horny and then you get horny again. It's just it is much more reminiscent of a blind force that doesn't really care about reason and logic and fairness in the way that he does, in the way that he manufactures the stuff that he manufactures. Will you shut the fuck up? Alright, I don't think he will. Anyway, oh yeah, just one interruption. I went to the psychologist, and she sort of gave me the idea that I should do my YouTube channel for me. So if I want to make a video, it doesn't matter if it's conducive to the algorithm, or if anybody watches it, or if I litter my channel with too many videos, it's because it's for me. I do it for me, like Heisenberg. I did it for me. I liked it. I was good at it. Or even if I'm not good at it. So I'm gonna use it as therapy, as many other YouTubers do. It's therapy. It's the same as putting a pen to paper. It's the same as fucking your sister or whatever. It's a fun activity. Uh, I don't know why I said that. Anyway, you think I'm crazy? Maybe I am. I don't know what I forgot what I was about to say, so I said fucking your sis. It's probably why I could never be a big YouTuber, because I swear too much and I say too many obscene words. I just don't give a fuck. I just so don't give a shit. Yeah. Anyway, so yes, we were on a kind of on a roll talking about the gods. I know it's very fluid, but the way I do it that way is because it's natural, and if I disrupt the flow as I just did a minute ago, I get lost. So it's kind of schizo rant. But the schizo rant helps when I'm not prepared to say something, even though I don't think I have schizo disorders, not that I know of. And so anyway, so we're talking about God and the usefulness that is implicit in science, the utility that is implicit in science. And I wonder if we can move somewhere else with that thought process, or whether we can't. But that dog is really fucking. Will you just shut the fuck up? Just why? Can people take care of the fucking dogs? It's just running around, barking. It's just why don't you shut him up? Fucking idiot. People are so fucking imbecilic. That's another topic. That why the fuck do we have dogs? They're so loud and so annoying. There should be some law that you need to keep them keep them silent. Don't have the. It should be illegal to have the type of dog that always barks. It's fucking insane and stupid. But that's just another example of our the contingency of our cultures and how we decide what's right and what's wrong. Like eating dogs or eating cats. We think it's such a terrible, terrible thing to eat cats and eat dogs, but then we eat chickens, and we don't really give a fuck. I mean, I can't really sympathize with chickens because it's not me. I don't know what it's like to be a chicken. If you put one in front of me, I'd be pretty pressed. I would not enjoy killing it. And when I was young, we did slaughter chickens to eat, and my grandmother would like snap their necks or something, and I don't think I liked what I saw very much. But it was part of life. In the olden days, the older culture, which since has been abandoned, probably because of animal rights laws. I don't know. You don't really do that anymore in Europe, in the EU. But yeah, it's just that's another thing that I was thinking about recently, is that how many people lived and died as monsters, like racist people in, like, white people in the antebellum South, who who lived and died as believing that black people are beneath consideration and beneath contempt. Um, they just lived their entire life that way. Born in 1860, died in 1920, and that's what they believed from beginning to end. Maybe they even participated in public torture. Um, what is that word for flogging? I don't remember the term, but you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, I don't remember the term, but those were terrible practices of torturing and murdering black people, and entire crowds would coalesce to watch and participate, and it's like, it's just incredible that what the human mind is capable of, and it shows very definitively and certainly that strongly that this talk of human nature is kind of bogus. There's not really such a thing as a human nature, or the logical problem that I see with that notion is just that because you define human nature as human nature, uh, you define humans as having a nature. Everything humans do is part of their nature. So you can't really separate the wheat from the chaff. You can't really find something humans do that isn't human nature. Um, so there's really not much to be said on that front. Human nature encompasses a very wide range of capacities and abilities, and you can obviously bird you can obviously make anything out of human beings. You can make them socialist, you can make them national socialists, or you can make them freedom loving Americans, or cultured Europeans, or Eastern believers of Eastern religions and Asian ways of life, all that kind of stuff. It's very wide ranging. So you don't really have a good concept of what human nature is, and yeah, it just so many delusional viewpoints from intellectual thought and history rely on some kind of notion of innateness, that human beings do have a kind of nature that but then if that nature is not manifesting it, you can just say, well, they're being suppressed. And of course the suppression itself is part of human nature, and so you don't really get anywhere with that line of thought. It's pretty pointless. What is human nature? It's a lot of shit, some good, and that's all you can really say. There's nothing to it. We're not all that special. um what kind of creatures are we? I lean a lot more towards a postmodern perception, and to me, even though it gets attacked all the time as anti-truth and insane, to me it's just evidently correct that we are contingent creatures, and there is no fixed truth, one way of looking at the world. The world itself might be real. It's impossible to prove or disprove. You have to use deduction. But the idea that we can see it directly is clearly insane. I mean, I remember my demented grandmother, on my mother's side. I thought about how different her experience is compared to mine, and mine is so different compared to other people's. Like, I would look at the window, let's say, and I would see, a family member or somebody, whatever, doesn't matter, who would be much more happy than I am. They were just happier people than I was. And just to imagine the contrast between those two viewpoints of the world, that you can walk around with a cloud over your head all day like I do. In other words, you can be unlucky, or you can be lucky, and you can see beauty everywhere you go, and easiness everywhere you go, and you just desperately want to switch, but it's not forthcoming and you can't really switch. And then of course you're asked politely to accept your lot in life, because if you don't, you're a pussy, and they tell you to be stoic and all that kind of horseshit. And that's what this new kind of masculine bullshit is all about. It's really good at telling young men to suck it up and don't complain, because if you do, you're just a pussy. Yeah, it's perfectly clear even from just watching TV shows like Breaking Bad, that even tough guys end up crying. And they somehow think there's something magnificent about being stoic like a rock. I don't really get it. What is stoic about not crying, about not showing your emotions, about not having emotions? I don't get that direction. This idea of four quadrants, a quadrant, right? Where you have four little blocks, and it says hard times create tough men, tough men create easy times, and easy times create weak men, and then weak men create tough times. Tough times create strong men create easy times, and you get the loop. And that's very much there, even if it's a simplistic schema of the situation. Is definitely there. And to me, that just signals the pointlessness of it all. That it's not like we should return to tradition because of this quadrant. It doesn't tell us to return to a tradition. It just tells us, look, man, it's futile. There's a contradiction everywhere you look. So quit wasting your time and quit depositing your hope in the future, which will give you nothing. Will leave you with nothing in the present. Right? But all things that live have to anticipate their future. Everything that lives on the earth cannot just be the summation of previous causes. It also has to be retroactively caused by the future, because the future is also there. So, for example, if you're playing snooker and you hit the cue ball and the cue ball scatters all the color balls, it's not enough to ask how the color balls scattered. You also have to ask, how is it possible that the color balls allowed themselves to be scattered in the first place? And that can only be deposited from the future, right? That in some mystery way, some mystery sense, the future determines the past the same way the past determines the future. There's a causal loop or a retroactive cause. And so, that's the core of pessimistic thought, essentially, that the present or the future always deprives you of the present. And there are all these paradoxes about how that you cannot be satisfied in the world, because the moment you're satisfied, you're no longer satisfied. And so people try to reconstruct the world and rehabilitate the world in spite of the pessimistic challenge, but they fail miserably. And so you have futile, pathetic, stupid attempts by Peterson and other idiots like, if you don't want to have kids, there's something wrong with you. You're just naive, and if you knew what was good, you would have kids. And probably one of the most idiotic statements of the century by one of the biggest con men from this century. Never think you're stupid, because the dumber people like him would have a much bigger platform than you do. All conservatives are essentially stupid. I'm sorry, I speak from experience, that none of them really have any wisdom. They're really simple and bleak. The people that they charge as being dangerous are much more lovey-dovey and accepting and wise than they themselves are. They're much more loving of justice and truth than they are, because their statements are always underlined. They are always underlay or underlined or underlined by an attempt at mystification and rigid rules, and they get off on following those rules. But as people like Slavoj Žižek has pointed out, you do get to enjoy your chains. You do get to turn your pain into your pleasure. So even if you think that you're moral and righteous, you're still just a degenerate gambler who enjoys being a slave to the elements. You're not free of any of those desires. You're not free of your sinful ways. But somehow they think that's what they are. They think they're clean. But even Christianity teaches them they're not clean. And yet somehow they just think they are. They're cleanly, because they're not gay or something. And it's like, even if you move the wrong way, you're a sinner in Christianity. It's like, what the fuck are you talking about? You break all 10 commandments every day. Such stupid people. There's going to be a ship, so that's gonna cause some noise, but I don't give a fuck. Given that I only made these videos for myself and I like it. And if you don't, if you give me a blowjob, I might stop. But I don't know if I have anywhere else to go. So we are talking about linearity. Linearity. There has to be some kind of title for this video, but I haven't figured it out. Yeah, I just wish I could, just the anticipation of the future. The very fact that I know I have to go to the fucking bank just kills me. I don't want to go to the fucking bank. I don't want to go near the fucking bank. fuck the bank in the ass. But I have to, because I have the wrong fucking plan, the wrong fucking account. So now I have to go and change it and, sign this and sign that and incomprehensible gibberish to confuse you and take your money, no doubt. Or, bureaucracy more like. Because the customers are too stupid to make a decision, so they're protected by the government. They're forcing them to put me on a better plan. It's a better bang for my buck. They're not really ripping me off. They just treating me as an idiot. And I just don't give a fuck. I don't want to go. I'd rather pay than go, but nah. I'll go and do this little pointless thing of changing my account plan. And in the meantime, you might as well just look at the ship as it makes the noise. Gets pretty close. Where is it going? Swiss Splendor. But it has the Hungarian flag and the Albanian flag. What the fuck is that flag? Wonder what would happen if I swam next to it. Now the water is being sucked in. Must be dangerous to swim here because of all the little currents that form spirals. But you know something about waves, that these waves, they don't really move the water itself. It's just the molecules bouncing up and down. But the water doesn't move anywhere. The change only happens on the surface. It's a disturbance of the surface. That's how I learned it. It's very fascinating because it led me to the idea that things change on a surface level, but not, even though they don't change on a fundamental level. But that's something I've talked about at nauseam already. Let's see if we can get back to something to talk about. Yeah. Could talk about autism again. Because I left a comment in under a YouTube channel where a guy was talking about autism. His channel is all about autism. Eros the autistic, and I pointed out the hypocrisy of how neurodivergent people are treated in society, that even though people claim to be sympathetic, they aren't when push comes to shove. And yeah, it's just kind of gives you a little bit of a little bit of relief knowing that you're not the only one so fucked in the head. The other people are also there, suffering right along with you. That's an enormous help. Any little bit that you can squeeze out of another person, you should. Friends are to be exploited, as I think Slavoj Žižek said. You should brutally exploit everything out of the person. You should brutally exploit everything out of me. And I should exploit everything out of you. Don't pretend there's anything else going on here. Just exploitation. You'd be surprised how easy it actually is to exploit people. You might think that you need to be 6'5" or whatever to get laid, but that's not true. People take pity on you. Women take pity on you. And they will give you what you need. Just have to be put in contact with them. I wish I had some nugget of wisdom I could depose. I wish I could put together the right words in the right orders, but I have nothing. I have nothing for you at this moment. Wish I had something as far as the solution goes, or where does the relief go? If I just sit here and I think and I try to figure out what my brain wants to think about, it's parents, maybe, that's overly protective parents. The whole point is that they won't get off your ass, and you're never able to develop fully as a person. And that has happened to me, that they band-aided me too much, so I couldn't develop independent skills. And once they're gone, I don't know what the fuck I'm gonna do. There's no answer. I wish I had something. This is another ship. It's a flat one. Probably has cola on it or something like that. Yeah. I have to make it another 10 minutes because my OCD says it has to be an hour long. So, better pray. Better pray that something happens. I always listen to the same songs over and over again. Pointlessly. And I've been thinking about, biology. That there used to be this genetic determinist point of view which used to dominate the field of biology and evolution. I just thought about Jordan Peterson calling himself an evolutionary psychologist, which is just fucking hilarious. The guy couldn't put together two molecules. The guy couldn't tie his own shoelaces. The arguments of the right are so stupid. But anyway, there used to be this gene-centric point of view of the universe where, genes will determine everything. That was the come down, was the upshot, the result of Darwinism and Lamarckism. That the environment also plays a role in developing the organism, and what the organism picks up and passes on to the next generation was ridiculed. That you cannot use the environment to change you. Everything is already encoded in the genes, and you're just a kind of meat puppet. But the emerging field of systems biology and epigenetics have come to challenge that idea and have said that there is not only is there a causal relationship between a reflexively causal relationship between reciprocal relationship between the environment and the genes, but the which I took as obvious, but also that on top of that the organism takes part in its own creation, right? It's not just a passive structure like the passive voice in English. Things don't just happen to it. It also makes things happen by correlating and contributing and correlating with the environment and participating in the environment in an active manner. And the way I would put it is that there's biologists sometimes use the term downward causation, where the bigger things, contrary to popular belief, the bigger things can also influence the smaller things. The whole can, the sum can influence the parts. But I've noticed that there's also a retroactive relationship between the genes and the environment. That some biologists want to collapse the difference altogether. I think that's the whole point of systems biology, that to collapse these stupid dualisms. And yet we do seem to have a dualism between the genes and the environment, in that we are made up of genes and we're made up of molecules, of course, atoms that bind to molecules, and now on top of that we have DNA because we're living organisms, multicellular organisms and so on. Even if it's monocellular, it's still living. Even if it's unconscious, non-conscious, it's still living, like a tree. And so that does seem to be a mysterious relationship between our genes and the molecules, the micro and the macro, which is the environment. That somehow it's possible to put these tiny little elements together so that they create what we call the environment, the air and the sun and the river and everything that's in it. That's the environment. And it's really difficult to define the environment because you can't find the genetic code for the environment. You can't find the molecules for the environment. The same way you can find the color red or the shape triangle or a red triangle or red circle in your brain. Yet somehow you manifest the image in your head and you recognize it when you see it, all things being equal. And so, collapsing the dualism doesn't really explain how this relationship is possible. And the reason why I say it's retrocausal, which means backward causal, is that somehow I had to take a sip energy drink. Is that somehow these genes and elements that make you up, it's not enough to account for those to get you. Like if you take a tree, for example, because the tree is genetic, it's a living organism, it has genetic foundations. It's not just some non-living thing. It's an organism. And even if it was non-living, it would still be made of molecules, atoms and molecules that form an object. But it's a living organism. And yet when we open up the tree and we look at it, we don't really find how it's possible for it to be a tree. All we really find is that it has all the properties of a tree, all the genes of a tree, the functions of a tree, but somehow it can be a tree. Even, and it's born into an environment. It's born into an environment. And this environment somehow has to accept the tree already as it is. Right? And even though we can give an accounting of how either of those things are constituted, how it's possible that all the properties of the tree form a tree, and how it's possible that a collection of trees can form a forest and a bunch of other things can form an environment. You just don't know how these smaller things come together to make bigger things. And yet it happens. And the reason why it has to be retrocausal, as far as the tree is concerned, is because, in some way it has to participate in its own creation. It has to anticipate the future. And this future is given to him or it by the environment. Even though it's genetically coded, it's the environment that will determine its thickness, its height, its age, whether somebody cuts it down or whether it dies for some natural reason or artificial reason. All of that is determined by the environment. And so in some, and yet the tree is genetic. So somehow we have this environment thing, this mysterious plane of existence that produces all these genetic things, and yet the environment cannot be found in the genes. It's the genes and the molecules. And so we just simply cannot wrap our heads around how this interconnected mechanism is possible in the first place. And I doubt we ever will. Just we basically don't understand what's the meaning of emergence. And it seems to me that one way people try to give a solution to the problem is just by denying the dualism and just say, okay, everything is the same kind of stuff. Fine, but it doesn't really explain the issue at all. And so we're in the same quagmire that we started from, except in a different cloak. I think, but of course, we've made everything a lot more dangerous along the way. Technology and science have made everything so much more dangerous than it needed to be. The population has skyrocketed, and we, the rich countries, the powerful countries, let it happen. Because the cause of childbirth is ignorance and a lack of education. So now we're complaining about the immigrants, and we're complaining about the bad behavior of the undeveloped countries, and they're throwing rocks and not behaving well, and haven't accomplished much in the way of science. And look at them now; they're coming to our countries, and it's like, well, you sleep the bed that you made. You sleep in the bed that you made. You suffer the weight of your own creation. You reap what you sow. That's exactly what we deserve. It's coming to us. Individuals don't deserve it, of course. These conflicts, but if we can talk in generalities, then we can. Then so can I. Right? That we made the bed, and now now we're going to sleep in the bed. And that's not just immigration. We fucked everything up. Again, we made technology too powerful. Couldn't possibly control it. Couldn't make a good community in the world to control it. So getting out of hand. So this ties back to what I said in the beginning. It's, what are you living for even? To go to school. Are you really happy to go to school? Are you really happy to say hi to your mother in the morning so she can, lecture you and nib at your ear? And to get a girlfriend, fuck her and then be done with it and never want to look at her again, and then 4 hours later being horny again, eating a piece of chocolate just so you can get fat. Then you promise yourself you lose weight and you never do. Getting A's, being a good student, just so you can get a good job and make money and participate in science and philosophy and literature, to work on problems that don't need to be there in the first place, that won't be solved. And even if they are solved, they will be eclipsed by other problems. To be a lawyer, to be a doctor, to be a line chef, whatever, line cook, an engineer. What are you doing? Are you really doing it because you want to, or are you doing it because that's the way the cards were dealt and you just accept it? You don't do what you do out of conviction, but out of mere blind contingency. You click on a YouTube video and think you're accomplishing something by clicking on it. And if this video doesn't suit you, doesn't satisfy you, then you'll find another, and that will. But of course you keep clicking or tapping more like, because None of the videos ever do satisfy. What the fuck are you doing on this planet? Do you have even an inkling of a clue what you do? Or are you just a fucking idiot? Imagine being that stupid. Imagine all the stupid people that you could be, you know. And there's no reason, nothing that you could possibly apply uh, to make that person not be as stupid. That's just what they are. So reason fails to account for the stupidity. That's another failure of reason and objectivity. That people are just built the way they are, and reason doesn't have a claw or a grip on all of them. It only works when it's convenient, when the person wants it to work. And insofar as something is a solution or an ideology, it cannot be the truth, because the truth would be self-evident and a priori. Yet it has to be applied and created. I could go on, but maybe this was enough. It is what it is, man. What should I talk about? KSI, Logan Paul. Put them in the title. Make money. Make views. I watched some of these rant channels, and some of them have. I saw one of them put ads in her videos, and it's like, what the fuck are you doing? Why bother ruining the experience to get $5? Don't expect anything out of it. People are stupid. It's so tiring.